He's looking for Hopkins. Got him! Touchdown! And he beat Brandon G.
DeAndre Hopkins is quite possibly the most underrated superstar in the NFL. From being a basketball star in high school to negotiating his own contract, here are 10 things you didn't know about DeAndre Hopkins. Number 10, he is passionate about fashion. These days, it's pretty common for athletes to be brand ambassadors of certain fashion lines. Not to mention, most athletes like to make a fashion statement whenever they make an arena entrance. DeAndre Hopkins is no different. In an interview with GQ, he claimed that he considers himself a model, and we're not disagreeing. All his life, DeAndre was into fashion. Even when he was a child, he would frequent thrift stores and Macy's to spend most of his money on clothes.
Of course I work on a fashion show. I think I'm a model and a football player body sometimes. Don't get it confused.
He loved the attention he was getting, and he'd always strut around his neighborhood showing off his style. He was one of those people who simply didn't care what anyone said about what he was wearing. His sister, Kesha Smith, even said that he wore girls' jeans as a child, leaving her to wonder how the heck he walked around in them.
Having a unique sense of style since a young age developed growing up where I grew up in South Carolina. We had a sense of style, and I always wanted to be different. We all wanted to be different. So I feel like it was a challenge to us. I would go to thrift stores and shop, just try to find something different.
His love for fashion extends all the way to the field. Back in 2016, DeAndre Hopkins was fined $6,000 when he wore Yeezy 350 Boosts cleats, which broke the NFL's uniform policy. Now that he's an NFL superstar, DeAndre hopes to start his own clothing line. Judging from his looks, it's pretty safe to say that he'll be a superstar in the fashion industry as well. Number 9, he also excelled in basketball. Now, we all know DeAndre Hopkins is a stud on the field, but did you know that he was also good at basketball? When he was in D.W. Daniel High School, DeAndre played both football and basketball. He also ran track and field. Talk about talent, right? As a basketball player, he was a combo guard for the D.W. Daniel Lions and had a total of 1,453 career points. He had his best season as a sophomore with averages of 20.1 points, 6 rebounds, and 8.4 assists per game, while averaging 3 steals per game across his high school career. In his senior year, he led the Lions all the way to their 3rd state title, and Hopkins was named the Independent Males Player of the Year. In fact, he was ranked the 2nd best high school basketball player in all of South Carolina and was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. He actually had a short stint playing basketball when he went to Clemson. He was a baller in high school, but the totality of Hopkins' collegiate basketball career only consists of a rebound, an assist, a steal, a block, and 2 turnovers. Number 8, he was a football star from a young age. It looks like DeAndre Hopkins was always meant to be a great football player. From a young age, he showed great proficiency at the sport. He began playing football when he was only 8 years old and would dominate as a wide receiver in his Pee Wee Football League. Most of the time, he would already have caught 6 touchdown passes before the second half of the game. Anyone who saw him could tell that he has a future with the sport. His athletic prowess would carry over as soon as he went to high school, where he was mostly known as a star defensive back and an elite-level wide receiver. He was unstoppable on both offense and defense. For the entirety of his high school football career, Hopkins had 57 receptions for 1,266 yards and 18 touchdowns on offense and 28 interceptions with 5 touchdowns on defense. Number 7, he has a very strong bond with his mother. When DeAndre was just a baby, his father, Harris Steve Hopkins, passed after his car hydroplaned on a rain-soaked road. So growing up, he and his 3 siblings were raised alone by their mom, Sabrina Greenleaf. She even took on 2 jobs while working at an automotive factory just to make ends meet. His connection with his mom was so strong that he opted to stay near the area they lived in when he had to go to college. Being a standout in high school, there were definitely a lot of college offers for DeAndre, and he could have gone to any of the big-name universities with a strong football program. Ultimately, he ended up in Clemson University, which was close to their South Carolina home. He never admitted that the reason why he chose that school was so that he could be near his mom, but anyone who knew him at the time could tell that he wanted to stay close to her. This allowed his mom to always show up and cheer him on during his games.
My mom, she's overcame a lot to raise us how she raised us. She's been there for me like a friend.
You light up when you talk about her.
Yeah, she do. I mean, that's my mama.
Number 6, he had a rough childhood. It's unfortunate enough that DeAndre had to grow up without a dad. He also had a difficult childhood. The tragedy that made his mom blind was one of the biggest hardships he and his family had to go through. In July 2002, a concoction of lye and bleach was thrown on her by her boyfriend's mistress. She was put in a medically induced coma so that doctors could work on her surgery. Being only 10 years old at the time, the stress of not knowing if their mom could come back from her injury is not an easy thing to deal with. When his mom recovered, she found it hard to adjust to normal life, being blind, and sank into depression. She could no longer go back to her previous jobs because of her disability and had to resort to selling drugs just to make sure her family could eat. It was until she went with her family to DeAndre's game that she finally had the resolve to get back up on her feet.
It was scary, honestly. I seen her hit rock bottom. I really didn't know how to deal with it.
Number 5, he helped his mom establish a nonprofit organization against domestic violence. Throughout her life, Sabrina had been a victim of domestic violence from her boyfriends. She even had to be hospitalized at one point due to sustaining injuries from the abuse. So when the opportunity presented itself, DeAndre and his mom founded SMOOTH, which stands for Speaking Mentally Outwardly, Opening Opportunities Towards Healing. This nonprofit organization seeks to end domestic violence by educating and empowering women and children through mentoring, counseling, lecture, and outreach activities. Through this platform, DeAndre and Sabrina use their influence to change the lives of the survivors of abuse and help them transcend from hurt to healing. Number 4, his nickname came from a brand of pacifiers. We all had crazy nicknames when we were kids. Some nicknames stick with us long into adulthood. That's exactly the case for DeAndre Hopkins. Having the nickname Nuke, you'd expect some bomb-related reason for him to have this nickname, but how he really got it will surprise you. His mom gave him the nickname Nuke because as a child he loved chewing through Nuke brand pacifiers. It isn't exactly clear how babies define their preferences in pacifiers, but apparently DeAndre was very picky and would only nurse on Nuke pacifiers. Now, as a star in the NFL, he fully embraces the nickname and continues to dominate on the field. Fun fact, Nuke wasn't the only nickname DeAndre had growing up. When he was younger, he also had the nickname Ralph, which is a direct reference to Ralph Lauren since he wore a lot of polo. Number 3, there's going to be a movie about his mom's life. Everyone has their own story to tell. It's no secret that Sabrina Greenlee has led an extraordinary life that is prime for a big screen treatment. Braun Studios announced that they have partnered with Good Fear and Katufu Films to develop and produce Sabrina, the story of Hopkins' mother, as a feature film. The film follows a young, single mother who is attacked and left for dead and finds herself in a battle to change the course of her life and stay on the new path she's created for herself and her 4 children. DeAndre had this to say when talking about the project. My mom has always put everyone before herself and sacrificed things unimaginable. Now it's time for people to see her true value and learn that giving up is not an option. The inspiring story of how his mother overcame adversity to rise up and give back to their community is definitely a story worth telling. And with Braun's solid track record when it comes to movies, you can be sure that Sabrina will be a hit that we should all look out for. Number 2, he wears number 10 on his jersey in honor of his cousin. Picking a jersey number is special. Most athletes will have a special meaning or story behind the number that they choose to wear. For DeAndre Hopkins, his number has a lot to do with the social inequalities in the United States. The reason he wears number 10 is to represent the number of years his cousin did in prison. DeAndre said that his big cousin from South Carolina did 10 years in jail for $600 worth of drugs. He and his family shared their story of growing up around drugs and fighting to make a living. They know better than anyone the struggle of being black and disadvantaged. Now, a success story after the family left that life, it's great that DeAndre is using his platform to point out one of the many ways racism and inequality can manifest themselves in society. A powerful statement from one of the brightest stars in the NFL. Number 1, he dumped his agent and negotiated his own contract. Back in June, Hopkins cut ties with the group that had been representing him, CAA Sports, which meant he had to handle his recent negotiations with Arizona on his own. What makes his deal impressive is that he managed to secure a $54.4 million contract with the Cardinals, making him the highest-paid non-quarterback in the NFL. While it isn't uncommon for players to negotiate their own deals, not everyone had the same success as DeAndre. So why did Hopkins decide to handle his own deal? You won't believe the reason behind it. Keep watching. The Cardinals receiver has aspirations of working in an NFL front office as soon as his career is over. He wants to one day be part of an organization and help build it towards success. He is also setting an example by showing other players that you can get things done yourself. As it stands right now, DeAndre Hopkins' status as a star will only keep shining brighter. By the time it's all said and done, he would earn his rightful spot among the best in the NFL's history.
It's an honor. It's an honor to be a Cardinal. Great guys led the way. Great organization.
So what did you think? Did you learn something new about DeAndre Hopkins? Can he go down as one of the greatest receivers of all time? Let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe and hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.